We have Dr. Sam Osmanagich in the house right now. We haven't had Sam on the show in a couple of years. And of course, he is the founder of the Bosnia Pyramids in Bosnia. And he has recently written a white paper called Bosnia Pyramids Against All Odds, a case study in vision-driven tourism, 2005 to 2025, which is actually 2 decades, which is fascinating. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we always want to also include some of the latest scientific research that he has discovered in this area and also kind of get an up-to-date idea of what's been going on. So, hey, Dr. Sam, welcome back to Earth Ancients. Great to see you.
Hello, Cliff. I'm very happy to be back. Yes, it's been a few years, and I think there is a lot to talk about here from the Bosnian pyramid sites. You will be amazed.
I want to start from the beginning because you discovered this site in 2005. How did you I don't think I've ever asked you. How did you discover it? I mean, and by the way, those of you listening, if you want to read a really good paper on Maya culture, Sam did his dissertation on Mayan pyramids, and I was reading part of it the other day. That was written in the early 2000s as well, and it's just a fascinating look at pyramidal communities. So you had this foundation of pyramid technology, and of course you're going to have a mindset to see this. So tell us how you fell onto this, how you discovered this.
You're absolutely right. My PhD was about the Mayan pyramids in Central America. And as we know, in the countries that we know today under the names Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and Belize, the Mayan civilization built not 100, not 1,000, but more than 100,000 pyramids. And 97% of them are still covered by vegetation and forest. You cannot actually see them. A very small percentage have been uncovered. But then in the 1990s and early 2000s, I have widened my research to the pyramids in Peru, in Bolivia, 250 pyramids in the Chinese province of Shanxi, pyramids in Cambodia like Gunung Padang in Indonesia, even Gympie Pyramid in Australia, pyramids in Sicily, Sardinia, ancient Greece. Of course, 155 pyramids in Egypt, not 118 as non-scientific Wikipedia claims. It's 155. I have investigated every one of them. 224 pyramids in Sudan, Nubian pyramids. In other words, the world of the past was the world of pyramids. And I noticed, Cliff, that majority of them, except for Egyptian or Peruvian pyramids that are visible because the climate is different. It's sunny, no greenery, no rain. Others like Indonesia, China, Bosnia, Mexico, Guatemala, they've all been covered by soil and vegetation. And to answer your question, back in 2005, April, at that time I used to live in Houston, Texas, I came to central Bosnian town of Visoko to visit the local museum. But what really caught my attention was this. Everybody called it a hill because it's covered by forest. But I was looking at the geometry. It had 4 sides, 4 triangular faces, 4 corners, the same slope from bottom to the top. I took compass, and compass showed me that those 4 sides perfectly matched the cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. And that's how the pyramids were built all around the world. So I immediately knew that it had to be an artificial structure, which after thousands of years got covered by soil, vegetation, seeds due to the rain, wind, and so on. So back in 2005, it was a one-man show. I got permission as the physical person from the government to do some preliminary research. Everything I did, geological core drilling, archaeological trenches, lab analysis, there were anomalies, meaning not made by the geological process. I wrote the book, published it, and I had a big press conference in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia, in October 2005, where I announced the news to the world that first pyramids in Europe have been discovered. And then I went to the National Museum, offering them cooperation. They said, no, we never had pharaohs in Bosnia, therefore we cannot have pyramids. I went to the Department of Archaeology at the University of Sarajevo. They told me, no, we don't have pyramids. You know, every square feet of Bosnia. We don't know 90% what is under the ground. I mean, after
Right.
thousands of years, so many civilizations got buried. So I saw that I deal with the people who live actually in the 19th century with their, state of mind. I established non-profit foundation under the name Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation. And in the last 20 years, it has become the most active archaeological site in the world. Every year, during all 12 months, we have hundreds of volunteers. So far, from 64 countries, 4,200 of them from 6 continents. We have our workers, our employees, dozens of experts from different fields. And this is what we have concluded so far. We have a complex of 6 pyramids, which we named the Bosnian Pyramids for the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and the 6th pyramid. We have 2 tumuli. In archaeology, the tumulus is the artificial conically shaped hill, and we have huge network of underground tunnels. So far, we have discovered entrances to 7 different tunnels, 2 different levels. Last time we talked, I think it was just 2, now it is 7 of them. And so far, we have cleared 3.6 kilometers or 2.2 miles of those prehistorical tunnels. So archaeologically speaking, this is huge discovery, especially having in mind that the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, with its height, it's much taller than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The Khufu Pyramid is 146.6 meters. Bosnian Pyramid, 368 meters, 2.5
That's a
times
monster.
taller.
Yeah.
And then, yes, and then orientation to the north. Egyptian pyramids, cosmic north. Chinese, north. Peruvian, north. Cambodia, north. Even Cahokia pyramids in the state of Illinois, north. So the ancients were oriented those structures to the cosmic north. So far, we thought the best orientation is the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Error from the perfect north, 0 degrees and 3 minutes. Kefren, 0 degrees, 3 minutes. Mykerinos, 0 degrees, 18 minutes. This is genius. But the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has an error of 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and only 12 seconds. When they built the Great Pyramid of Egypt, they used 6 million tons of blocks. Limestone from, quarries around, and the granite blocks from Aswan, which is 500 miles to the south. 6.5 millions. Bosnian Pyramid, 150 millions. Of what material? The best quality concrete. It's harder than the concrete that we can make today. So every aspect of the project we touch changes human history forever. Finally, what is the age of the pyramids? In the case of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, only 4 radiocarbon dating has been done. Why only 4? Because all 4 were older than 4,550 years, which is the era of the rule of the pharaoh Khufu from the 4th dynasty. And then they stopped.
Yeah.
In the case of for example, Göbekli Tepe, which is like the most intriguing mainstream archaeological project, Dr. Klaus Schmidt, he did only 4 radiocarbon dating. And they are older than what they claim in, Encyclopedia Britannica, Wikipedia, 11,600. It is 13,600. In our case, Bosnian Pyramid Project, we have done 28 radiocarbon dating, 12 luminescence analysis, and 7 uranium analysis. There is no archaeological project in existence with more dating than what we have in Bosnia. And guess what? Without a penny from the government support. So, what did we come up with when it comes to the dates? 29,200 years plus minus 400 years.
29,000. 29,000 or
29,200.
Okay.
29,200. That's a so-called radiocarbon date. In order to get calibrated date, Dr. Paula Violette, late Dr. Laviolette, he was calculating, it was 33,800 years. That's calibrated date or calendar age. 33,800. Of course, what they teach us in schools. They tell us that the human civilizations, advanced civilizations, started 6,000 years ago with the Sumerians. Then 5,000 Babylon, Akkad, Assyria, Hittite, ancient Egypt, China,
Right.
India. This is just the last cycle of humanity. Before this one, there was another one. which ended 11,700 years ago with the great global catastrophes, biblical flood, earthquakes, volcanoes, and so on. And 18,500 was another huge catastrophe. 32,000 solar flames were burning the face of the planet. 54,000, something that looks like a thermonuclear war, and 74,000 huge volcanic eruption in Indonesia. They are telling us in schools that history of humanity is a linear, but it is not. It is cycle after cycle after cycle. We simply live in the last cycle of humanity. And the Bosnian pyramids, the same like Göbekli Tepe, or Egyptian pyramids, or pyramids in Mexico like Teotihuacan, or pyramids in Bolivia, Tijuana, or they all belong to the previous cycluses. And eventually, so many scientific arguments will resurface that people will simply have to acknowledge that history books have to be rewritten again.
Yep.
And our friend, Dr. Denny Kilman from Indonesia, when he wrote excellent scientific article a year and a half ago about Gunung Padang, claiming it is 27,000 years old, radiocarbon dating, with the 5 different phases, 27,000, 12,000, 5,000, 2,000, and then middle age. I read that article. It's perfect scientific article. Everything was argumented, interdisciplinary scientific approach. It was so much pressure from Germany, England, and America that magazine had to retract this article, but it is still online, and people can read that. So 27,000 radiocarbon, it is more than 30,000 calendar age. So it will be so much of the pressure from new discoveries and from independent researchers, not only mainstream running, Egyptologists are just running projects like in Egypt, Mexico, Peru, China. No. It will be independent people like myself, like Dennis Hillman, like Michael Tellinger, and the truth will prevail. So, after the first 5-6 years, once we've proven that we have construction complex, what was the next on our agenda? Next was to figure out what was the purpose, the true purpose of pyramids. I realized traveling the world that archaeologists, Egyptologists, they jealously guard their projects. I mean, if you are a geophysicist or electrical engineer, sound engineer, nuclear physicist, you cannot go to Egypt or Mexico or China to do measurements. Well, in our case, they can. As a matter of fact, we've been inviting experts in energy phenomena to come to Bosnia to do the measurements. Mm-hmm. And guess what? We've had 5 independent teams from 5 different countries at 5 different times, bringing their own equipment and getting the same results. For example, when they climbed the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, using oscilloscope, EMF, and the other scientific instruments, they realized that there was an energy beam going through the top of the pyramid with 13-meter radius, which expands to 13 feet radius, which expands to 70 feet, coming back to 1370, and it is electrical in nature, and it is ultrasound in nature. We sent the drone above the Bosnian Pyramid, doing the measurements every 3-4 feet, going left, right, back and forth. And then we realized that the strength of the signal, it was getting stronger and stronger. The same frequency, 28 kilohertz, but the strength was stronger. In science, this phenomenon is called scalar waves or non-Hertzian waves, or simply Tesla's energy. And indeed, the genius mind of Tesla, 125 years ago, was experimenting with these subtle energies. And he concluded that non-Hertzian waves move quicker than the speed of light. So they are ideal form, ideal media to transport the energy, to transport the information. His hypothesis was confirmed by the Russian physicists in the last 50 years. So we have something that moves quicker than the speed of light. So our first conclusion about the true purpose of the pyramid energy is they were used as the communication devices. The second one, I mentioned the tunnels running under the Bosnian Valley of the pyramids. We noticed that when you enter the tunnels, after 20, 30, or 50 meters, people would expect that there is a lack of oxygen. Well, maybe in the coal mines, but not here. As a matter of fact, deeper you go in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, you breathe better and better. Not very logical, but nothing in Bosnia is logical. People with the respiratory problems, and they move for thousands of feet in the tunnels. They breathe so well that after 5, 7, 8 times, people with asthma, bronchitis, they breathe so well they don't need air pump, inhaler. People with a high blood pressure, let's say you got 180 over 120, you go to the tunnels, come back, 120 over 80. If you have high sugar in the blood, high glucose, you go inside, it drops for so many points that it comes close to the normal. People with the tumors, people with the pains, with all kinds of diseases, we could notice excellent improvement in health. So our second conclusion was, the second purpose of the pyramid energy was to protect what is the most precious to us, and that would be our health. Now you see how it's starting making sense. Why would somebody build, Great Pyramid of Egypt with so many millions of tons of material, with so much astronomical knowledge, calendar knowledge, geometrical knowledge, mathematical knowledge, to bury one dead body? Does not make sense.
Yeah.
Same goes for China, Mexico, Peru, and Bosnia. Now, the purpose number 3, we have discovered 5 open tunnels in Bosnia with the water, and we have analyzed the water and compared it with our city water and our bottled water. Now, medical authorities are telling us that our city water is healthy because it does not have microbes, does not have viruses, bacteria, fungi. Well, true, but it's been treated with the chlorine, which is a poison. All our life we drink poisons. In some countries, they add fluoride. They're saying, fluoride is good for your teeth. As a matter of fact, the fluoride causes the tooth diseases. When we brush our teeth, with the paste or whatever. Now, some countries add fluoride in the water, like United Kingdom, Republic of Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, Argentina, Chile, and so on. Mm-hmm. What the fluoride does to our body, it attacks our nerve system and it closes our pineal gland, which is our window to spirituality. And of course, the water from the Bosnian pyramids has not been treated. It has excellent level of, magnesium, calcium, and kalium, and so on. pH is perfect, 7.45. pH 0 to 14, 7 is neutral. Below 7 is acid, not good. Above 7, alkaline, that's good. Our blood is not 7. Our blood is 7.35 to 7.45, and the pyramid water is 7.45. Ideal. And when we sent the samples of the city water from the town of Visoko and the pyramid water from Visoko to the late Dr. Masaru Emoto from Japan, what he would do from 1990s, 2000s, and so on, he would take the different samples of water, get it frozen at -5 degrees, and then take the photo through the electronic microscope. And he concluded different samples, different molecular structures. For example, if it is contaminated water, it is deformed, no beautiful structure. If it is city water, it is deformed. If it is water exposed to heavy metal music, loud music, it is deformed. However, if it is water exposed to the Mozart's music, the cosmic music, divine music of Mozart, it creates hexagonal structure.
Crystals.
If it is the water, he took the city water, yes, he took the city water and he was having mantra of love. He was telling the water, I love you, I love you, I love you. And he meant that. It's not like our Westerners, I love you. No, he meant that. The water has changed the structure. It became hexagonal. Why hexagon? It's the most powerful geometrical shape when it comes to the energy. And guess what? The Bosnian pyramid water, hexagonal in structure, with a beautiful crystal-like structure. So it tells me that pyramid energy affects the most important liquid in our life, and that would be the water, what we drink. The next element of pyramid purpose, food. We've done experiment with the seeds of beans, and we took one bag with the seeds, we put it at home, control group, one bag to the tunnels, one bag on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And then after 15 days, we planted them in our park. The pyramid seeds, the pyramid beans, They were growing 3 times quicker, richer, healthier.
Yeah.
Pyramid energy affects our DNA. The next one, during 2020, 2022, we had this Corona project where they were taking our, freedoms and our human rights from us. Well, during the project, they were trying to convince us that the solution for everything is a vaccine. However, being vaccinated or not vaccinated, everybody was getting, viruses or bacteria. Everybody was getting sick.
Right.
And then the question is not the vaccine. The question is immunity. And guess what? You go to the Bosnian Pyramid tunnels, your immunity goes up. And then another one, besides the 5 physical senses, we have spiritual senses also. Nobody is teaching us to develop senses like feeling the energy, or seeing the energy, or seeing the colors of energy, or telepathy. That's our spiritual sense. Nobody's teaching us to develop that. We don't have teachers, actually. However, going to the tunnels, being exposed to the pyramid energy, people start feeling that they can develop some of those senses. They can feel they can even see the energy. So my conclusion that pyramid energy also affects our spiritual abilities. So now look at this. Purpose of pyramid, communication, but long distance communication, not AT&T from Houston to Dallas. No. Between the stars. The second one, to protect what is the most precious to us, our health. Number 3, to improve our most important liquid, water. Number 4, food. Number 5, immunity. Number 6, spirituality. Number 7, it affects agriculture. Number 8, it affects, social relationships. Number 9, it protects atmosphere and so on. It's the pyramid energy. They've been programming us in schools that pyramids belong to the past because they were built for one dead body. No, pyramids belong to the present and to the future. And
Why
guess what?
Why do you think the Maya built 100,000? Were they modifying the environment or the atmosphere?
Pyramids are always multifunctional machines. It's not
Yeah.
just one purpose. It's always many purposes. There are places of knowledge. There are places of astronomy. There are places of healing. There are places, in the case of Mayan pyramids, of the ultrasounds. So communications also. Every time, for example, you go to Chichen Itza, you climb the Kukulkan pyramid, at least, while we could until 2009 when they forbid that.
Right.
Every time you climb that pyramid, you can hear the sound. It was, very high-pitched sound. It was like bird chirping. And with the time, we realized that sound, it's not just the echo of us climbing up, but it was also a sound of the sacred bird Quetzal. And Quetzal for them was the symbol of spirituality, but also a messenger coming from demigods who brought the knowledge to them. And while talking about the Mayans, it's my favorite subject. Thinking about the Quetzal, what was done? We scanned the sound and frequency of the Quetzal in a natural habitat in Mexico and Guatemala. And their sound is between 810 hertz and 1020 hertz. And then we scanned the sound of us climbing up the stairs. 2 things affect the frequency. The first one is the width of stairs. The second one is the height of stairs. Now, the width of stairs, they're rather narrow, which is logical because the Mayans, they were rather short. They were 5 foot tall, lower than us. 5 foot tall, it means that their shoe size was also smaller than ours. So that is easily to explain. However, the height of those stairs are like 3 times of what you would expect on their height. So even when we climb those stairs, people would usually climb, with the hands and with their, legs. So why would they do that? Well, the width produces the frequency of 800 hertz, and the height produces a frequency of 1000 hertz, which is exactly the same range of the sound of the holy bird Quetzal. So you see how many elements are incorporated in the pyramids. This is really amazing.
Yeah.
And since I think you were just asking 1 or 2 questions, and I've been talking, but now I want to share maybe the most important breakthrough discovery from this year. You know, there is a science called archaeoastronomy, which combines archaeological research and astronomical research. When it comes to archaeoastronomy, we have cases of, let's say, Mayan structures where we can see that they were building, for example, the gates of their temples, which will catch the full sun during the winter or summer solstice. So this is archaeoastronomy. Or some of their cities, like Tulum, they are making very narrow passages between two buildings. And so when the wind was blowing, it was producing the sound, and they knew exactly what kind of weather they can expect tomorrow. Right. Things of that nature. Also, we know about the Stonehenge. They would be following, winter and summer solstice, spring and fall equinox, 4 lunar phases. The same goes for the, mounts in the US. So this is archaeoastronomy. Now, when it comes to the pyramids, most of the people know about OCT, which is Orion Correlation Theory. Namely, back at the end of 1980s, the Belgian researcher Robert Bouval came up with a theory that the layout of 3 Egyptian pyramids at the Giza Plateau, so Khufu, Khafre, and Mykerinos, it is, when you connect their tops, it is one broken line, right? It is not straight line, it is a broken line. Well, he said that those 3 pyramids match the layout of 3 stars of the Orion belt. And indeed, you look at the night sky, you can see Orion belt, and they are very similar in layout like those 3 pyramids. During 1990s, Robert Bouval approached Graham Hancock. He was already a name at that time, so they wrote another book. So this theory, has become, widely known and very popular. And then even Robert Schoch joined the team. So, they sold many books, and, people are accepting that as a fact. Well, maybe they're right. Maybe they're wrong. I'm not an astronomer, but, I was checking a little bit that layout, and I could notice that even 3 stars in the star cluster of Cygnus, they have the same layout. And then 3 stars in Pegasus, the same layout. And 3 stars in the Fox cluster, the same layout. So I said, okay, let me run this through the Monte Carlo simulation. So what AI is capable today, they are able to check different combinations. Not 1, not 10, not 100, but tens of thousands, even up to 1 million different combinations from the night star.
Let me stop you real quick, Sam. So yes. Explain the Monte Carlo. Is it a algorithm set up in AI?
Yeah,
or
it is a software in AI where they can run thousands of different options. So for example, on the night sky, we have 100,000 visible stars, 100,000 of them. So if you ask them, okay, take the layout of those 3 pyramids, which is basically one broken line, and take the distances between them. So apply the same proportion on any 3 stars on a night sky.
Right.
And let's see how many matches we can get. And guess what? It was not 4 matches that I could find. It was 4,429 different combinations on the night sky.
4,000 constellations that were...
No, 4,429 triplets, 3 stars on the night sky who have the same broken line with the proportionally same distances, like distances between 3 tops of Egyptian pyramids.
Okay.
That broken line with 1, 2, 3 points. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 on the night sky.
Wow.
I'm not saying that Bouval and Hancock are wrong. What I'm just saying, when you run it through today's mathematical and statistical, capabilities, it just tells you, hey, they might be right, but there are also 4,428 different triplets that also match layout of those 3
but
stars.
Let's go a little further, Sam. What would you say the energetic connection to a constellation like Orion? Maybe the Egyptians had a connection with the energetic emissions from Orion rather than the 4,000 that you have said. So can we measure that? We don't. There's no way to do it, right?
At this point, no. But what you can measure, maybe what you can measure is how bright are those stars.
Oh, that's a good
So when you
point.
say the stars, maybe they match the bigger pyramid or something like that. Well, that is the case of OCT theory. Well, in the case of the Bosnian pyramids, I mentioned that we have so far 6 discovered pyramids, and we have a major tumulus in the village of Ratnica, and we have smaller tumulus, so we have 2 tumuli, and then we have a very intriguing thing. I did a scientific paper on 2 rivers in Visoko Valley. One river is called Fonica, and this river Fonica, it flows from west to the eastern direction, west-east. And then when the original builders built the Pyramid of Dragon and Temple of Mother Earth, they became an obstacle to the river flow, and the river moved its flow for more than 90 degrees. So riverbed is now moved for more than 90 degrees, and now it's flowing from south to north, so from west to east, so from south to north. And so basically what they did, they get all this water, they get this river into the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, and just right there, the biggest Bosnian river, which is River Bosna, is coming to Visoko. So 2 rivers, we have the mouth of 2 rivers. They meet exactly here in the center of the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. So for me, since River Fonica has been moved for more than 90 degrees, the mouth of 2 rivers, estuary, is the artificial point in space. So why is that important? So we have pyramids, their tops, we have top of the tumulus, and we have that point of 2 rivers. And now guess what? I was looking at the Bosnian pyramids, and I was thinking, since the ancients were always applying elements of sacred geometry into their constructions. What are they? For example, equilateral triangle, for one. Hexagon, number pi, 3.14. Number phi, golden section, 1.618. Fibonacci spiral as one of the most important elements. And flower of life. And guess what? We have all those elements in the case of the Bosnian pyramids. For example, when we connect the tops of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun with the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon and Pyramid of Dragon and go back to the Sun, we are getting perfect equilateral triangle with the distances between tops of 2,180 meters, 1.4 miles. Inner angles at 60 degrees. And then we have straight lines. For example, we have one straight line that connects the top of the Moon Pyramid, top of the Temple of Mother Earth, top of the Dragon. We have another one. So we have straight lines, we have triangles, and then we have Fibonacci spirals. Not 1, but 3. The first spiral runs from the top of the Love Pyramid. Now, if on this spiral you have more than 2 points, it means this is not a natural arrangement. If you have 3, 4, or 5 points on this spiral. Look at this. Top of the Love Pyramid, beginning of spiral. The spiral intersects with the top of the Sun Pyramid, top of Temple of Mother Earth, top of Dragon Pyramid, and then all the way to the top of the tumulus in the village of Ratnica. 5 points. No coincidence there. The second spiral starts from the mouth of 2 rivers. You open the spirals, top of the Sun Pyramid, entrance to the tunnels, top of the tumulus. The third spiral, mouth of 2 rivers, top of the Moon Pyramid, one corner of Temple of Mother Earth, another corner of Temple of Mother Earth, 4 points. So now, this was discoveries from last fall, huge discovery, elements of sacred geometry. If you have them in the valley, it means that the ancient builders were very carefully planning and executing the layout of those structures. This is last year. This year, I'm looking at the Pleiades star system. Why Pleiades? Why not Orion? When you check all the star clusters and oral traditions around the planet, the one that is widely mentioned is Pleiades, the star cluster of Pleiades. Why Pleiades? They call it, ancient Greek mythology is talking about 7 sisters of Pleiades.
Yeah.
And indeed, you can see 7 stars. And then a few months during the year from this area, you can see 2 more, Pleione and Atlas. They call them father and mother. So 9 stars. 2 here, and 7 there. The one which is in the middle is called Maya. And Maya is, even in ancient Greek mythology, is considered like the oldest sister, and in our case, the most important star. Why? When I was looking at those stars, I was thinking, all right, what kind of geometrical shapes and elements we have here? First, I could see straight lines, 3 stars, but one straight line with the 3 stars, if I run Monte Carlo simulation, probably I would get 1,000 of, triplets on one straight line. A little bit less than in Egypt, where it's one broken line, which is even less regular. But I said, well, having just a straight line with the 3 stars, it's not much of the deal. I was thinking, okay, more complicated shape is a triangle, especially equilateral triangle. And guess what? 3 stars of Pleiades have such a, layout, equilateral triangle, with the Maya, again, as a major star. I said, you look at the night sky, you look how many stars, so you can create many equilateral triangles. Not a big deal. But I said, how about that we can find Fibonacci spiral there? A Fibonacci spiral is a product of very precise mathematical model. It is based on golden section, golden numbers, 1.618. How do you get the golden number? Well, what you do, you add 2 previous numbers and you get the third one. For example, 1 plus 2 equals 3. 2 plus 3 equals 5. 3 plus 5 equals 8. 5 plus 8 equals 13, and so on. And then you have those little squares. 1 by 1, then 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 5 by 5, 8 by 8. And then when you go from corner to corner to corner to corner, slowly you are getting this beautiful Fibonacci spiral which opens up. And why 1.618? Well, when you divide, for example, 5 and 8, 8 divided by 5, the result is 1.618. 13 by 8, 1.618. 21 by 13, 1.618. So this is, math. This is not the guessing work. This is not symbolic. This is not, it is math. So I was looking at the, Pleiades. I could clearly see that Maya, that star, the major star, is beginning of the Fibonacci spirals. And guess what? 4 other stars were exactly intersecting there on this spiral. That was one spiral. And then I was able to find 2 more running from those 2 stars, which are called, Father and Mother, Pleione and Atlas. One spiral is from Pleione, another one is from Atlas, finishing at Maya star. And then I took those 2 maps, Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids and the Pleiades star systems with those Fibonacci spirals. And guess what? In 3 cases, those spirals match. Over there, where Maya is the first one, the beginning of the spiral, it is the mouth of 2 rivers ending at the tumulus. So now what we have? We have 3 Fibonacci spirals. We have pyramid complex, which is terrestrials. We have stars, celestials, and they match. So what I did again, I ran Monte Carlo simulation. I asked them the following question. All right, for terrestrial case, find any, 6 or 7 mountain hills, mountain tops, hilltops, river mouths, conically shaped hills, irregularly, find anywhere on the planet and see if we can form Fibonacci spiral. Result was 0. Actually, according to them, it was less than 0.00001. Basically, it is 0. And I asked them, okay, find me Fibonacci spiral from any star cluster. Result was 0. And then I said, how many matches between 3 Fibonacci spirals, which are terrestrial, in the case of archaeological complex, and 3 stars, which are celestials, and the result was only 1, Bosnian Pyramids and Pleiades.
Oh
So
my God.
now, when we compare, but now we are talking about science, we are talking about geometry, math, archaeology, astronomy, and statistics. This is pure science. Only 1 case that match. And I would say, I'm not being modest now, this is probably the biggest discovery in the world of archaeoastronomy ever. So what I did, I sent that article, I wrote it using scientific methodology, and you know how it goes. It goes the title, an abstract, introduction, methodology, results, blah, 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 conclusions, references. I sent it to the International Scientific Journal. They ran double-blind, peer-reviewed. It was like 2 reviewers. They approved that, and it's been published last month in the magazine called Geostatistics and Mathematics.
Is it on? Did you put it on your website?
It is on my website, drsamosmanagich.com. drsamosmanagich.com.
Okay,
and let me go there real quick, and I will tell you how this article is called.
Because I didn't know about that. I would have liked to have read that. Yeah, I will definitely check it out.
Over there, you will find everything I'm telling you right now. Okay, from Orion's belt to the Pleiades spiral, a comparative astronomical and statistical analysis of pyramid alignments in Egypt and Bosnia. And it was published in the magazine called Current Research in Statistics and Mathematics. And I think it was very important to have mathematician and statistician people, who run the numbers. So I would say this is huge. This is really huge. And, our project revolutionarily changed the narrative about the pyramids. They belong to the future. They are energy machines, energy amplifiers, healing aspects, spiritual aspect, scientific aspect. But now we have such an important archaeoastronomical aspect.
Yeah.
When you have such an important clue, the Fibonacci link between terrestrial and celestial aspect, it had to be messaged there. And why is this particular star cluster so many times mentioned in oral tradition of Pueblo Indians, Hopi Indians, Navajo Indians, Anasazics in the southern US, the Mayan civilization, Japan, India, Maori, New Zealand, original people of Australia? It's been mentioned everywhere. It had to be some major reason, a message for us. And now we have established scientific proof for that link between the two.
Why do you think there's so much resistance from the Egyptological community against Bosnia? Is it because you're looking at a non-traditional pyramid and they're so used to seeing the stonework? Or is it just that it's too much to think of the Gunung Padang and the Bosnia design as a complete unique pyramid?
Well, resistance has been there from the very beginning. Going back to 2005, the first one to attack me were the local archaeologists, geologists, museums, historians. They are saying it is impossible. Well, of course, it has become possible when we've done so much of scientific argumentation. But what they did back in 2006, they got connected with the European Archaeological Association, asking them the help to stop us. So these people started writing against us. And guess what? None of them ever came to the site to see what we actually discovered. They never come to see those huge, concrete blocks in rows, layers and layers. I was very happy. I would be very glad to give them, take samples, go ahead and analyze them. This is what we've done. We went to 7 different institutes for constructions and materials in Italy, Politecnico di Torino in Turin, Italy, Geopolymer Institute to France, to Professor Davidovic, Czech, Slovakia, Bosnia. They all told us it was an artificially made concrete.
Yeah.
So if you have shape of 4-sided pyramid, if you have perfect orientation, now you find the concrete blocks that covers the top of the pyramid. You have underground tunnels. Archaeologically speaking, you're talking about the construction complex. Anybody attacked. Then even Robert Schoch came at the very beginning, 2006, saying, it's all natural. But, you don't dismiss something after one visit. Fortunately, we stayed there. We spent more than 600,000 business hours on archaeological research, excavation, lab analysis, dating, energy measurements. And we have our case. Science is on our side. You asked me about the Egyptology. Back in 2006, I asked the Egyptian government to send me 3 archaeologists, Egyptologists, geologists, and they came. First, Dr. Ali Barakat, 40 years of experience, archaeology, geology. He confirmed that the pyramids exist. What Dr. Zahi Hawass did when this poor guy came back, he fired him from the government. So he had to relocate to United Arab Emirates because he confirmed that bigger pyramids and all the pyramids in Egyptian existed in Bosnia. Then he sent excellent archaeologist Lamia Al-Hadidi. She came there, she was, involved in digging. She found some walls, pyramid walls. She was so exciting. She's in front of me. She's, phoning to Zahi Hawass. She said, you have to come here. This is the real archaeological locations. He denied. He said no. He rejected. Then he sent his best friend, Mohammed Ibrahim Ali, who later on, he was the vice dean at the University of Ain Shams in Cairo. Later on, he became the leading person in their antiquity department. He came, he was giving his statement to AP. He said, I don't know what this is. Is it a pyramid or temple? But this is huge archaeological discovery. Bosnia was never on the archaeological map. Now it is. He went back. He got silenced by Dr. Hawass. So why? Well, because you have those people with the low vibrations who want to keep the system and their old ways that they don't want people to know, they don't want to share. They think the cultural heritage belongs to them, but they got it wrong. Egyptian pyramids do not belong to Egyptian Department of Antiquities. It belongs to all of us, to you and me, everybody else. Peruvian pyramids, Chinese, Mexican, Bosnia. And we are the most open archaeological project in the world. Anybody can come and work with us. That's why we have so many volunteers who are our best ambassadors. If people want to come and work besides us, they can do that. We're going to even provide them with the samples of the organic material and concrete. Go ahead, do your scientific analysis. But we always tell them, under one condition, you need to share the scientific results with us so we can share them with the world. And that's what the science is about, sharing new knowledge and the new information. So when you ask me why, they know their motivations, and sometimes even independent researchers, some of them are fine, some of them, they have big ego, and, they think what they think, that's the only truth. But it's not about the ego. The new discoveries are there to write new history books, to get the new knowledge, we can see some wonderful people who come to our sites, like Professor Konstantin, geophysicist from Russia. He even had 17 patents, inventions, energy measurements. He goes to Egypt, to Mexico, to Bosnia. He measures the pyramids. He said the Bosnian pyramids are still the strongest, the most powerful pyramids in the world. We have people like Michael Tellinger. They come, they are so impressed. We have some others, Dr. Paula Violette. He visited us like 6 or 7 times doing some measurements before, he passed away. So we have really nice people. But sometimes if it is ego, and this is project in Bosnia that redefined human history, a little bit jealousy, things of that nature, this is fine. What is important, especially with my work in the last year when I published 32 scientific articles in peer-reviewed journals, I think it will help scientific community to get deeper insight in what discoveries are in Bosnia, and they are huge.
Yeah. Real quickly, and I think I asked you this last time, the Gunung Padang pyramid seems almost identical to the Bosnia Pyramid of the Sun, except the Pyramid of the Sun is huge. But do you see similarities in the two at all?
Yes, the first one is age. He's talking about 27,000 years radiocarbon, in our case 29,000, which is, very, very similar. When it goes to such a huge, distances in the past, it is very close. When it comes to material, Gunung Padang was built using volcanic, which are native for that area because of the volcanoes. In our case, what they did, they used concrete. When they were digging the tunnels 30,000 years back, they were removing a lot of material. Which material? Conglomerate. And conglomerate consists of pebbles, rocks, and sand. So they removed conglomerate, they mix it with the binder, and as a binder, they used melted clay, and they got the best quality concrete. So that's not a similarity because they were using local material. And then, in the case of Gunung Padang, they don't have a square base, but rectangular base. In the case of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, it's rectangular base. In both cases, they are four-sided pyramid. In both cases, they have very regular orientation towards the cardinal points. In both cases, they are energy amplifiers. What Dr. Danny Hillman discovered using geophysical methods is the huge chamber inside the pyramid, which is triangular in shape. But interestingly enough, when he was showing it to me back in 2007, that triangle is like upside down. So it's very, very intriguing. And then we have two major rivers around that pyramid. We have two major rivers in Bosnia. Why rivers? Because when water moves, it releases negative ions, which are very beneficial for human health. The pyramid amplifies the concentration of negative ions. And then you have a volcanic stone, meaning it's high percentage of iron ore. Iron generates electromagnetic field. And guess what? Under the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, we have huge iron plate, which generates electromagnetic field. What the pyramid does, it pulls this electromagnetism up, amplifying it. How do we know? Because we have measured at the base and at the top.
Right.
At the top, 50 times stronger signal. The same frequency again, 28 kilohertz, but stronger signal. So I would say similarities, there are a lot of similarities between Bosnian and the Indonesian pyramids. However, in our case, I think we have more, especially on aspect of elements of sacred geometry, Fibonacci spiral, and so on. So, but the ancients were smart, they knew that for our planet, the most powerful geometrical shape is four-sided pyramid. If you locate it above energy potent place, it becomes energy amplifier.
Have any of the Russians who have been studying pyramids have come out and made any comments about the Bosnia pyramids? Because those guys were making artificial pyramids and testing them.
Correct. And the most productive builders of Russian pyramids is Valery Uvarov. Last time, he is from St. Petersburg. Last time he was here was, when? 6 weeks ago. In June of 2025, he was one of the speakers at my 8th International Scientific Conference on Bosnian Pyramids. He understands pyramids because he built pyramids in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and he's the author of the biggest pyramid complex in Russia right now. It is in Tomsk, Siberia. And his investor was Vlad, who's unfortunately now in prison. But I was the first foreigner to visit this pyramid complex in Tomsk. The idea was to have 10,000 students, university there, the airport, the supermarkets. And this guy, Vlad, he was owner of 64 stores. He had chains of stores and shopping malls. And under those pyramids, when I was there, he had about 15 pyramids built. Under the pyramids, he had huge storage rooms. So he would store the food and liquids and drinks under the pyramid, and then he would send it to stores. So being exposed to the pyramid energy, molecular structure of his products were much better. But unfortunately, it was stopped because they put the poor guy in the prison. And the second Russian, the second most productive is Dr. Vladimir Golod. He is from Ukraine, and he built 60 pyramids, some of them in Ukraine. But the best known is the one that he built near Moscow. Near Moscow, he has his dacha. It's like a big weekend house. I was there. I was talking to him. And he built this huge pyramid from the polyurethane. But it was not the material, but it was the shape. He had elements of sacred geometry, 21 meters by 21, 42 meters and stuff like that. And I'll just mention, he was doing different experiments with the, health and healing and stuff like that. I'll just mention one. He placed 5 tons of kitchen salt in the pyramid for 1 month. And then he went to the nearby prison. He got a contract signed with them, and he supplied them with the kitchen salt, and he just asked them in the prison to use this kitchen salt during the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they were just adding the salt during their meals. He went there after 3 months, and he asked them if they could notice any changes in their behavior. Now, these people were amazed. They said, listen, they are changed so much. that the violence level was reduced to zero. It was 6,000 prisoners. They always like to play with the guns and the knives and killing each other. 0% was the violence level. So after a year, after his contract expired, he went to renew it. And you know what they told him? They told him, no, we are not interested. And he was telling me that, and I was thinking, these are the governments.
Yeah.
They want the violence to be in society so they can justify, big police force and armies and inspectors and this and that. Sad story. So those two times. So Valery, he's been coming here very often. Professor Kolotkov, he's been coming. And these people, they do understand pyramids. But I have many pyramid buffs from all over the world. They come, they measure, they enjoy. We have created such a beautiful environment. Like the 5 elements that we already had, archaeology and science and energy and spirituality and healing, were not enough. So what I did, I came back from Houston, Texas, after 25 years there. I spent all my savings to buy more than 1 million square feet of neglected, muddy, swampy land with a lot of garbage. And we transformed the land into the most beautiful park, drained the water, planted thousands and thousands of shrubs and flowers and plants. We built different installations, combining the art and the true history, the sport complex. We have festivals. Just yesterday we had festival. We call it Love, Peace, and Harmony. And we have one for summer solstice. We have lectures about what we eat, what we drink, about the water being structured, stuff like that. So what we have created here, Cliff, is so much more than archaeology. Archaeology was just the beginning, the ignition.
Yeah.
What we have here is the concept of different, happier future. And when I look what they've been trying to tell us in the last 5 years and impose as the new Western values, transhumanism, upgraded human with the biochip under our skin, GMO trash, which they call GMO food, digital money and digital banks, no cash, no freedom, pedophiles being legalized so they can continue with their orgy. Well, here we are saying no. This is not our future. Our future is in harmony among us, normal, good intentional people, harmony with the nature.
Fantastic.
The Bosnian Pyramid project has become, and Fibonacci spiral is all about the cosmic harmony and the balance.
I love that. I love that. I want to ask you one more question, and I think we're about done because you could go on forever. We could probably spend 3 hours with you. Okay, so you know about the Italians who use SAR technology to scan the Great Pyramid, but also Hawara, the labyrinth there, and the synthetic aperture radar. Okay, I know you're close friends with Klaus Dana. Klaus Dana and Carmen Bolter used a proprietary scan. Why did he not scan the Great Bosnia Pyramid and discover what's inside?
Now, I know all of them. Klaus was here, and back at our conference in 2013, he did scan the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, finding out there are 7 levels of internal passageways with a lot of inner chambers.
He never published it. Where is it? Where's the document?
He has not. He has not, but it was one of the conclusions of our conference back in 2013. Now, but even more fresher are those Italians. We are talking about Filippo and Corrado, and the third guy is Armando May. I know all 3 of them.
Yeah,
now,
Armando.
Filippo, they were scanning Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids last year. At that time, they told me, listen, this is just the first scan. So they shared the results, which I'm going to share with you. And they said, we are working on something big, Egyptian pyramids. We are going to announce it and publish next year. Once we are done with that, we're going to come back to the Bosnian pyramids. What did they discover in Bosnia? And they're going to confirm that next year. Number 1, they discovered one more pyramids, pyramid number 7. I was looking at the map, and they're probably right. Number 2, they discovered another structure, which is rather close to the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And I told them, listen, when I climbed the top of the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia, during the sunrise of the summer solstice, and I was watching the shadow of the Sun Pyramid, Of course, because of the pyramid, the shadow is, angular.
Yeah.
And the top of the shadow was showing exact position of what they told me is potential structure. So I said, I know that you are probably right because the ancients were smart. They were also astronomers. And number three, they said we found connection between the Love and the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia. There is an underground tunnel. I asked them to show me location. They showed me location at the Love Pyramid. It is on private property. And while back in 2008 with my crew, I went there, even though it was private, and we did discover there is an entrance there, about 5-6 meters, 20 feet, and then it was kind of closed with a bunch of stones over there. So all three things that they told me, I could verify. I never told them about that. I was waiting for them to tell me what they discovered. And I knew that they were legit back then, last year. So when they came with their published article and a big press conference, I think it was March 15 in Milan, Italy. They said basically 5 things. And I did a YouTube video where I analyzed all 5 things. Now, the first thing is that the Great Pyramid of Egypt, or Khufu, has not 3, but 5 chambers. Well, of course, the first 3 are what they called kings, queens, and unfinished.
Do you mean Khafre? You don't mean Khufu. You mean Khafre?
Now I'm talking about Khufu. I'll come to Khafre.
Okay, Khufu.
The first one, Khufu or Cheops or Great Pyramid. They are saying there are 2 more chambers. For the 4th one, we know from the Japanese team who worked with the myons. These are, electrical particles coming from the cosmos, and they realized there is above the Grand Gallery, there is a huge hollow space. They confirmed that just in their case, Italians have it a little bit further up. Right. That's number 4. And they found the number 5 on the totally different side of the pyramid. So I think they are probably right there. Secondly, Khafre or Khafren pyramid. They are saying there are also 5 chambers there instead of 2 that we know about. Right. And probably they are right. I was checking the scans. Of course, they are using SAR radar tomography. And it was very smart way. Since I deal with those, radar tomography, I have people coming with the georadars and so on. So I know exactly how it works. So you have this machine which you drag on the surface, and you have different length of the, antennas. They can be 3 meters, 10 feet, or 4.5 or 6 meters bigger the antenna. It penetrates deeper because it's a higher frequency. And they came up with an excellent idea. What they do, they use satellite from the Copernicus project. This is a European Union project. And the access to the information, to the photos are actually for free. Most cases, commercial satellites, you need to pay. They are getting it for free. And whenever the satellite goes over the Giza plateau, they were using the radar rays as the antenna. So it has become a huge antenna. They were using it, and they had improved software that they figure out, and now they can penetrate very, very deep below the pyramids. So the second thing, I said 5 chambers in Khafre. The third thing, which kind of blew the mind of everybody, who's been looking into this, are those 8 cylindrical columns that go under the second largest pyramid, Khafre or Khafre.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see those cylindrical columns. One exactly the same cylindrical column.
Because so do you believe that they go under the ground a mile, though? Because that's the big question.
This is what they claim. It goes about 648 meters, 650 meters, which is 2,000 feet. Yeah. Well, that signal is very consistent. It does not really break.
Yeah.
It is not reflection of something. So 8 of them in 2 rows, I think they are onto something real big. And so number 3, I think I can verify that. Number 4, under those 8 columns, they go into 2 huge chambers, which are 80 meters, more than 250 feet, by 80 meters, 250 feet. So they are huge square chambers. Now this is big. 80 meters at such depth, it's big. And number 5, they are saying that 2.3 kilometers below the Giza Plateau, which is 1.5 miles below the pyramids. There is a whole underground city. Now, when I look at those, I can see that the energy signature is different. It can be hollow space, it can be huge caverns that run for kilometers. It is possible. If it is an underground city, now it's maybe far-fetched that somebody built city under the ground, 1.6 miles. And of course, now all of a sudden we have all these stories. It was Hall of Amenti. Hall of Amenti in Egyptian mythology is the place where gods resided. And when King Thought came to Hall of Amenti, he was faced with such huge amount of knowledge. And with the knowledge, he became immortal and he became God. And then later on, he was the one who built the pyramids and so on. Well, for the number 5, I'm not quite sure. I incline to say probably it is not underground city, or it's probably huge network of underground caverns and chambers and stuff like that. But first 4, I think, even if it is 1, it is huge.
Yeah.
But 4 of those cylindrical, columns, it's amazing, which tells us that Egyptian pyramids are not places to bury somebody. It is just the tip of the iceberg. And we are talking about technology, the same like in the case of the Bosnian pyramids.
I would love it if you had a geoscan or a SAR scan of the Bosnia pyramid, because that would really help.
I'm hoping to have it next year because all 3 of them, Corrado, and Malanga and Filippo and Armando, they are coming to Bosnia. They'll be doing scanning, so I'm really looking forward. Even though they've been so busy now, everybody wants a piece of them. Everybody's inviting them to their show, to their conferences, to here and there. Even though Zahi Hawass, of course, he attacked them, saying they never had permission from our Department of Antiquity. What permission? This is a satellite.
Yes.
These are available information to everyone, to you and me and to them. What permission he's talking about? But he wants to control everything.
Yes.
Science is not about the control. In the case of Zaki, it's about the politics. But people need to recognize that.
Dr. Sam, always a pleasure speaking with you. Give us your website and any upcoming talks that you're presenting in the next 6-7 months.
Yes. Now, I'll give them 2 websites. The first one is with my name. It's www.drsamosmanagich, DSAM Osmanagich, it is at the end.com, where you have all my 32 recently published scientific articles about all aspects of the project, the pyramids and the sun and the moon and the tumulus and hydrology and energy machines and even stone spheres and stuff like that. Pleiades, of course, that's one. The other one is BosnianPyramids.ba. BA is the Bosnian site, BosnianPyramids.ba, where we actually invite people to come to our next conference next year in June, the Bosnian Pyramid Summer Solstice Tour Conference and Festival for 1 week. Next year, we're going to have Michael Cremo, of course, who is the legendary author of Forbidden Archaeology, Brett Olson, and some other good scientists from Mexico and Greece, and Jan Rak, he was CERN's physicist and so on. So we'll have some good science, spirituality, and consciousness at our site. That's June of next year. And my next tour in the US will be next April. I'm coming to Arizona, April 17, 18, 19, Tucson, Phoenix, and Sedona, my favorite place in the US. April 22nd, Houston, place where I used to live. So, people can follow me on the Instagram, Facebook accounts. So this is really exciting times. But above all, I'd like to invite them to visit us. We have the time of their life.
Now, are you streaming your conferences, Sam? Are they streamed?
What we do, we film, we record everything, and then we put them on our YouTube channels.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you streamed it, then I'd love to be a sponsor. Because then people, we do a lot of conferences in the United States and in Italy and in Germany, and they stream it so they can see it live from anywhere in the world, but then they also support it and have it available to download later.
We'll discuss that. I like
Okay.
that.
I'll send you an email. I'd love to be able to sponsor the
Yes,
conference. So, hey,
yes,
as
good.
always, a real pleasure. And thank you again. And you're doing wonderful work, and we support you. And of course, Sam, I always say this to you. I think you have to write a book, my friend, a book on the Bosnia pyramids with some pictures from Klaus. You got to twist Klaus down his arm and say, "We
Actually, it is
need
in
the
my book
photos."
called My Story, My Bosnian Pyramids, My Story. We have that Klaus's scan. And by the way, I have 22 books
Oh, of
published.
course.
Oh,
Yeah. Wait a minute. That book on my story has Klaus's scan in it?
yes.
Okay, I got to find that book. All
Well,
right.
so both go to this site, drsamosmanagich.com, and you will see sections. You have scientific articles, but you will see sections books, and there are 12 books free to read there.
Okay.
And one of them is my story, and you will find the whole story about the Bosnian pyramids and all the scientific stuff, including Klaus Donas.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Cliff. Enjoy.